Hi guys, I think we are live. It's that this live stream. I will be showing you the games I was able to pick up at Gen Con and what my final thoughts were of Gen Con 2018 this year. Excuse me. I just got over having con crud, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. That's why this video took a little bit longer to come out, but here we are. So I'm just gonna go off the top of the pile and we're going to start from there. So all these games, actually, I bought, with the exception of one, I think, I bought on Thursday. So I got most of my purchasing done on Thursday. So the first one is Lost Cities Rivals. This game is put out by Cosmos Games. This is a Reiner Knizia title based off of the well-loved two-player game Lost Cities. Now, when I first heard about Lost Cities Rivals, I was kind of skeptical at first. I have seen other reviews and other media people say that this is not really a good game. Why is Knizia putting, a bidding aspect into a decent two-player game? And I'm a huge Reiner Knizia fan, so I was kind of intrigued, but all that kind of let me kind of be leery about it. But to tell you the truth, I retract that statement because I finally got a chance to play this at Gen Con. I think the night that I purchased it, with the full complement of 4 players, and this game is so good. It has kind of a bidding mechanic of For Sale, which is a quick little bidding game that has been out for quite a while, but put that with 3 to 4 players, and there's so much tension in this game. The scoring is a little bit simpler. It's a more streamlined game. It's a very simple game to play and to teach, and those are the couple of criteria that I generally look for in a game. And this game hits bidding, it hits set collection, and it has a lot of I don't know, it's just one of those things that I was not expecting. But I really enjoyed it. But the thing is, you have to play it with 4 players, 3 to 4 players, to add that huge amount of tension. But again, this was a big surprise for me. So the second one on this pile is Arboretum. This is a reprint and a redo of the Z-Man version, but this one is put out by Renegade Game Studios. They've updated the art a little bit, and they have kind of streamlined the rules. I mean, there wasn't a lot that they changed in the rules, but I think they cleaned the rules up, and those changes were quite welcome. So this is the front of the box, which is a gorgeous picture. Renegade Game Studios does a wonderful job with their art department. And so, I don't know what you can tell from there, but they've updated the backs of the cards, and they really updated the art for the trees. I have yet to play this version. I've only played the Z-Man version once, and I liked it, but hopefully I'll be able to play that soon. So the next one on the pile is, if I have it right set up, yeah, it's right set up. Spirits of the Wild. This one is put out by Mattel Games, which is one of the very few games in their 2-player line that they just released. Have yet to play this one, but it seems like a nice back and forth game where you're trying to complete your player board to score the most points. But an interesting thing is You have the same actions as your opponent, but it's kind of a corner. So this one kind of is very interesting from what I was able to read on it. I've read the rules, but I have not yet tried. Continuing on the Mattel two-player line, whoops, we have, let's get this out of the way, we have Voltage. This is another game in their two-player line that they released this year. And it looks to be a back-and-forth two-player game where you're either trying to have the highest score on your side or the lowest score on your side when that particular row scores. I was able to play a mock game of this by myself, and it's a very quick teach. It's a very quick pick up and play. It's very, very kind of a nice, neat little quick game. But if I'm able to get somebody to play, it should be a nice 10-15 minute game. Okay, that I believe was all of the small box. Me, the small boxes I was able to pick up. Now we're getting into the heavy stuff. We're getting into the bigger boxes. Oof. So I think this is probably the heaviest box that I have. Let's see if I can get out of the front. You can't even see me. It's too big. But I have Werewolf Legacy, put out by Bezier Games. This is one of their new releases this year. I don't know anything about this except it's werewolf themed, based off of the One Night Werewolf and the werewolf games put out by Ted Alspach. And I love the werewolf games as a whole. So I have yet to open this, so I don't know what it has to offer. But as soon as I get enough players to play, which I think on the box, it says, let's see, 9 to 16. So as soon as I get at least 9 people to play that really like this type of game, you know I'll be having a kind of impression video out for this. But let me move things around here because we're getting kind of cluttered. Okay, this next one is Taj Mahal. This is put out by Z-Man Games. Yeah, I've got this right side up. It's a reprint of a Reiner Knizia classic. This is one that I was finally able to pick up a copy. I've been trying to pick this one up for years, and I wasn't able to until this year. But if you don't know anything about Taj Mahal is a hand management, route building, and like influence, kind of a bidding game, so to speak. So I don't know if we'll get a good shot of this, but you're playing on this board, and on your turn you're going to either play cards or withdraw. And when you withdraw, whoever has the majority of a certain symbol, that will allow you either to place palaces on the board or claim the province token, which will give you commodities, which will also score you points. So it's a very quick game to teach. There's a little bit of thinkiness to it, which I like, but I've yet to play it with at least 3 players. I played it with 2, and it works well. It has a dummy player, which has some interesting rules how it works. But I'm kind of really excited to give that a shot with 3 to 5 players. Excuse me. This next one here is Council of 4. This one is put out, let's back up a little bit. It's put out by Z-Man Games. And again, this one is a reprint and a redo from the original game that I had not been able to get my hands on until now. But this game, I'll show you the back of the box here, and I'll do my best to get it in the shot. Oh, there we go. So, Council of 4 is this very simple kind of route connection and hand management game where you're placing your little miniature pawns of your color on the board, and each time you do, you're going to score, a bonus. So each time you're connecting to your same route, you're going to get bonus after bonus after bonus, which will score you points. And once somebody goes out with their 10th piece on the board, that ends the game, and whoever has the most points at that point will win. So I had never played this game before, and I've been trying to get my hands on it, and I finally did this year. And people were saying, "Oh, it's a really decent game," and I'm very glad I'm able to pick it up because I played it with 4 players a couple of days ago, and it has the same sort of feel that Ticket to Ride gives me. It's a nice, very simple game to learn, but there's a lot of different things to master. I think there's a little bit of learning curve, but it's not steep at all. I think this game is a step above Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is a great game in and of itself, but this is a nice step up from that. And I will be probably playing that game for years. I will probably be playing Council of Four for years. Okay, let's see. Getting near the bottom of the pile here. Villainous, yes. If you know anything about me, I'm a huge Disney fanatic. I'm a Disney fanboy. Whatever they put out, not everything they put out, but good chunk of whatever they put out, I will probably eat up. And this is no exception. Villainous is a game where you are playing one of the 6 classic Disney villains. You can see them all kind of in the back here. You've got Ursula, you've got Prince John, you've got the Queen of Hearts, you've got Captain Hook, Maleficent, she's my favorite, and Jafar. I couldn't tell who that was at the bottom. And as you can see, each player plays one of those villains, and each of those villains has their own realm board and their own decks of cards. And the whole thing about this game is that each villain has their own winning condition. And whoever does that first is going to win. And each of those is different. And they play each differently. And it's very interesting to see how, villains can mess with each other, because you can play the fate cards, which are those white cards that are on the back here that are based off of their story, and the heroes that will mess with their board. And I think that it's a nice game that, like I said, each of those plays a little bit differently, and you're only going to play one each. You're only going to play one villain a game. So there's a lot of replayability and seeing how each villain feels compared to other ones that you've played. I have a lot of high hopes for this game because the Disney franchise and their plethora of characters they can choose from is pretty large. So I will be surprised if they won't be coming out with little mini expansions that are different villains that give you different cards and different ways to win. So we'll see how that works out in the coming months. And this not the last item that I have, but the last game I'm going to be talking about is Railroad Rivals, put out by Forbidden Games. Yep, Forbidden Games. And I will tell you, this game was a total surprise purchase for me. I wasn't expecting anything. But when I heard the spiel on this game, and when I saw kind of the gameplay, I thought about it, and instantly I'm like, I have to have this. What this game is, let's see if I can give you a decent shot of the back there. This game is a streamlined version of a very popular game called Railways of the World, which is a large, sprawling game that you're trying to connect to different cities by your train connections and deliver goods to score points and place little markers on the board to score points. And what this does, it takes that kind of 2 to 3 hour game experience and kind of boils it down to a nice, easy to learn, easy to play, kind of fun experience. And it takes a lot of the frustration that I have with Rare Race of the World as a whole. It takes a lot of that frustration and makes it fun. It makes it more approachable, which I really like. So the very last thing, those were all the games that I was able to pick up on Thursday, except for Villainous and one other thing, but I don't remember which one it is. But those are all the games that I was able to pick up, and the last thing I was able to pick up was this playmat for Imhotep. Let's see, that'll have to do. You'll see that there's places for the cards, there's place for the stones in each color, and there is a score track. I picked this up at the Cosmos booth. This is just a nice little upgrade if you like the game Imhotep as much as I do. So that is everything I was able to pick up at Gen Con this year. As a whole, as far as product that they were, advertising at Gen Con, honestly, a lot of these were, for me, kind of just reprints. There's nothing really brand spanking new that was coming out that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this right away, or I'm not going to be able to get it before, like 2 weeks or something. So, kind of disappointing in that fact. There wasn't a lot of people that I've talked to that had that initial like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this, I'm going to be so disappointed. A lot of these games were reprints of classic games that had been around for a long time, and I'm glad that I'm able to get my hands on them. So as a whole, as far as what they're providing, it wasn't a amazing turnout. But if you're looking for expansions, if you're looking for reprints, I think this was the year for the reprints. You can take that as you want to, but for me, this was a year for the reprints. So another couple of things that I did while I was there. We got there down on Wednesday. A friend of mine and we drove down, and we met 2 other people for dinner at a restaurant on Wednesday night, which has kind of become kind of our hangout. Once you get down there on Wednesday, it just gives us time to relax. It gives us time to be prepared for, a week of being in the convention, running around all the time, meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of companies and different things. So it just gave us a nice little breather before the whole mayhem started of this year. Let's see. Let me think about this. I had a couple events this year that there were 2 events that I was able to make, and then 2 that I was not able to make. So the first event that I did this year was they had a Luxor event put out by Luxor is actually put out by Queen Games. So I went there to learn it and potentially buy it. My friend and I learned the game, and we were both kind of surprised that it's a nice family weight game where hand management is kind of interesting, because once you have your hand of cards, you can't really rearrange your hand. Once you get it, you're kind of stuck in that order. But once you play a card and move your pieces around on the board, you're going to take a card and put it in the middle of your hand, which will push out your other cards in your hand to put either a card on your left or a card on your right. And those are your only two options when it comes to your turn. You have to play either the card on the far left or the far right. And those are the only two options. And in this game, you're trying to collect sets. You're trying to collect, I think, a pot, like a set collection of like 3 or 4 different items to score points. You're trying to improve the deck that everybody plays off of, and it's essentially a race game. And whoever has the most points at the end, once somebody triggers that last round, is going to win. So in a whole, it's a nice family weight game, and I'm probably going to be picking it up in a couple of weeks. The only other event that I was able to do this year, and I always do it, was the one night Werewolf Championship put on by Bezier Games. I've done it ever since they've started, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and they always do a good job, and they take the time and go through the rules for new players, which there's always new players there at every year, which is nice. And I've actually never won the championship. I've been at the final table. So every year, it's kind of a nice thing that I try to do every year. I'm like, as long as I'm at the final table, I will try to do my best to win. If I don't win, great. If I don't, if I win, great. If I don't, I'm okay with it. But I like werewolf games in general, and I don't get to play them as often as I'd like to at this point. So whenever I get a chance to play One Night Werewolf or Ultimate Werewolf, the actual base game itself, I always jump at the chance. And the cool thing is, our entire hotel room that we stayed with, the 5 of us that stayed in the hotel room together, we all participated in that same event. So it was a nice group activity that we did this year. And I talked to some of the people I stayed with, and they really enjoyed it. So if you have any interest in doing that next year, they always have it. So look forward to next year. So that is basically everything that I actually... that's not true. That's all the events that I did for this year for Gen Con. Not a lot. I spent most of my time... I bought my games on Thursday, and then I would, I'd play the games that I would get, and then play whatever anybody else wanted. I spent most of this Gen Con just meeting new people, and meeting companies, and talking to people, and passing out pudding. That's a nice segue. So... This is something that my friend and I, Dave Taylor of To the Table, with Gaming with Family and Friends, that I contribute with, that I contribute stuff for his blog and his YouTube channel. Him and I wanted to we actually started something called the Pudding Project. And what the Pudding Project is with all of the negative, I don't know how you would describe it. With all the negative media that has been out there with the board game industry as of currently, things have not been, the brightest. So it started off as a joke, but the more we started thinking about it, the more we started talking about it, and we're like, oh, we could turn this into a very positive turnaround, and hopefully that will, just in our own little way, make it easier and funner to be in the hobby. And it's just a nice icebreaker, in all honesty. So what ended up happening is, on the way there, all we did was we stopped at a local grocery store. We picked up, I don't know, 48 puddings or something like that. and, different flavors and all this fun stuff. And the whole premise was, if you saw me at Gen Con this year, and I'm not that hard to miss, but, because I'm in a chair and things like that, but what can you do? So if you saw me at Gen Con this year, you probably saw me with a sack of something. So I was carrying around a sack of pudding. I had different flavors in there, and I was carrying spoons. So the whole goal was to go up to somebody that I thought was having a bad day, or somebody, if somebody's having a birthday or whatever, and I would just say, "Hey, do you want a pudding? Would you like a pudding?" And I gave out some puddings this year, and every time I gave out a pudding, I talked to them a little bit. How is the con doing? How are you feeling? Just a nice icebreaker, and it's nice to meet new people. And that's basically the reasoning behind it, is because I think as a whole right now we're kind of disconnected as a community. We're very split in our political views and things like that. So I would go up to somebody and say, "Hey, would you like a pudding?" And then you could choose whatever pudding flavor you wanted. I had 3 or 4 different flavors, and I would just give you a pudding. We'd talk for 5 or 10 minutes. I would take a picture, and I'd let you go on your way. Hopefully, thinking that, hey, I did something nice for you. Hopefully, that made your day, made you smile. Didn't really matter. I just wanted to see if we could make a difference, in any shape or form. So that's basically what I did. I spent most of my time passing out pudding this year at Gen Con. So everything is better with pudding. So that's kind of the little tagline that we have for it. So in general, I plan to do it next year at Gen Con. And if I'm at different conventions, I will maybe do it at different conventions, but I will definitely do it again next year at Gen Con. So if you see me next year, and you see me walking around with a pudding, or if you're having a bad day, or you just want to stop and say hi, just come over and ask for a pudding, and we'll take a picture, and then you can go on your merry way. If you're interested, we haven't really fleshed everything out yet, but I do have, on my personal Instagram page, I do have a hashtag that I started. It's called it's hashtag Pudding Project, and so if you type in that hashtag, I think there's like 9 videos or 9 photos at this point of me passing around pudding, and I took pictures. I of course asked permission first, if people wanted to have their picture taken, and hopefully not just at Gen Con, but I'm hoping that something like this can take off and make the world a better place, because everything is better with pudding. So that I'm off my soapbox now. So yeah, that's everything I did. That's everything that I picked up at Gen Con. Those are all kind of my thoughts. I know it's kind of a longer stream and a longer video, but in sorry, in theory and in short terms, it was a good year. It was a good year for reprints. Nothing really kind of stood out to me as needing to have, but I had fun like I do every year. So hopefully next year there will be tons and tons of games I'll be coming home with, and hopefully I'll be able to meet some of you next year, partially because of the Pudding Project, or just to, I meet so many people through Gen Con, and hopefully if you come to see me and I have pudding, just stop and say hi, and we can have a little chat. But all in all, a good year. Can't wait for next year, and we'll see what next year is going to bring us. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for sharing this video. So I'll see you in a couple of days. See ya.